I mean, it's certainly been quite a roller coaster of emotions, as I'm sure it has been for everybody. It's obviously a difficult time, dealing with the complete, like the sudden, complete loss of all of your gigs, all of your work. I had really cool tours planned, both in Europe this summer, and then I was going to be on the West Coast, like now this month. And of course, I'm still here, but I think I've also kind of enjoyed the opportunity to slow down a little bit and take some time to be a little more introspective and uh, work on sort of honing some new skills that I wouldn't have had time otherwise to do. I've been doing a lot of music video editing and learning different computer software, and um, writing a lot and reading a lot and spending time with my family and with some close friends down here. So it's been nice. It's sort of a blessing in disguise, but
I hear you.
yeah.
Let's talk a little bit now that you mentioned family. Let's, of course, start at the beginning. Let's talk about your family, your musical family. Of course, you come from a famed New Orleans musical family with your dad being the famed guitarist Steve Masakowski. And I know your brother also plays, your brother Martin now plays bass, I believe. Am I
Mm.
correct?
Yes,
Okay,
that's
it's
right.
his primary instrument, and you as a vocalist. So let's talk about a little bit about growing up. What was it like growing up in a family where clearly music has been a part of your life since the very beginning? Let's talk a little bit about what that was like.
Yeah, I think it's sort of it gave me this sort of natural connection to hearing sounds in a way that I always say music is like a language, right? People say that music is like its own language, especially jazz music. And so it's kind of like, if children are born into a bilingual family and they grow up, always hearing whatever English and Spanish or French or whatever it may be. For me, that other language was really jazz music, and so I sort of started, I don't know, I just growing up, and also growing up in New Orleans with, you have just so much, there's music in the streets everywhere. It's such a huge part of our culture. Second line parades and jazz festival and all the, all the festivals. And so, um, yeah, it just gave me this sort of deep connection, I think, and understanding to music, and especially to jazz music, that I think is very unique to have grown up in a musical family. You know, my dad really, um, he really sort of, he taught me about ear training, playing music by ear from when I was very, very young. I would sit down on the piano and he would play a chord on guitar and he'd say, okay, I want you to improvise over this chord change, and I was probably 3 or 4 years old, and he would say, just use the white keys on the piano for this, and so I'd start playing around, and then he'd do a different tonality and he would say, okay, this time you only use the black keys on the piano, and and so from a really young age I was sort of learning how to match um, notes with tonal centers and chord progressions. So I think that really sort of developed my ears in a way to think almost more as an instrumentalist. And then, that's why when I started singing jazz, I was really drawn to improvising as well. And my father would tell me like, oh, I want you to think like a horn player and really be able to have a conversation with the rest of the instrumentalists and engage the same way a trumpet would, or a saxophone or any other instrument.
Okay, so as I hear you say that, I think about one of the things I find most impressive about you is your ability to scat, and it just falls in so with such ease and such a lightness about it, matching your voice. And now I'd have to say, understanding the way your father brought you up and the way of thinking like an instrumentalist, I can see where that might come from. So I just want to say how impressive that is
Thank you.
as well.
And what else I grew up on is I know you guys know this, is Brazilian music. I mean, I was
Yes.
absolutely raised on the music of Toninho Horta, Antonio Carlos Jobim, Sergio Mendes, Gal Costa, Astor Gilberto, like all of the greats. And when I was really young, I mean, I used to listen to, you know, these Brazilian songs over and over and over again. And that was like my first dream, was to be like one of the singers in Brazil 66, you know, and I would sing along in like fake Portuguese and pretend that I was Ipanema, you know, like
Yeah.
so that kind of I have a deep, deep love for Brazilian music, and that absolutely comes from my parents raising me on that music, you know.
Oh yeah,
And
because a lot of,
yeah,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
no, I was just gonna say it's funny how, you know, your musical tastes, or I mean, your parents influence you so much, you know, with their whatever they're listening to. And my friends all laugh at me because I like really missed out on a lot of like classic rock, because I never really grew up with classic rock. I never really grew up with Pink Floyd and Led Zeppelin and all these bands that I had to discover much later on, because, you know, that's not what my folks were listening to. They were raising me on like Frank Zappa and Thelonious Monk and all this weird stuff. So it's kind of funny. Kind of
Yeah,
clueless on classic rock.
because I have to say, just from listening to your recordings, your taste is very eclectic. And I know when a lot of people who are familiar with you from the Jazz Room have come because you've been a part of our Brazilian nights or our Joe Beam specials or what have you. So when people I know, because some people have said they've gotten a hold of some of your albums and they were expecting, basically, they were expecting a Joe Beam fest, and they get, you know, a lot of different things, so they're quite surprised to hear all the different things that you do. And let's talk a little bit about your musical eclecticism and all the things you've done. So looking back at your albums, you know, from Green River Musical Playground, Wishes, and also one of my favorites, the latest, and yes, I have my copy right here with me, Art Market, your album from 2018, which also was on my best of the list for that year, but that's just something else. So as we'll talk about what we get on this album, just opening it up, of course, we start with Iko Iko, which is something to be expected with your background. Then we get songs, we get some interplay from Bill Evans, and then we get songs by Lil Hardin Armstrong. We also get songs about scary monsters and juicy booties and, you know, everything else along the way. So,
Yeah,
so let's talk
parents
about.
didn't approve of that one. Yeah.
I'm sorry?
So my parents didn't approve of that song title, but I was like, whatever.
Juicy Booty, yeah, well, you know, just all I'm gonna say about that one, it was different than what I expected. When I heard the title, you know, I was expecting, you know, some Parliament Funkadelic type thing.
Yeah.
You know, it's
Yeah, yeah.
something comes off a lot easier on the ears. You know, not what you would expect from a song with that title, but yes, you can't help but notice it when
Right.
you get to the album. But let's talk about the eclectic taste. So what informed, with you coming up with a jazz background and being so steeped in New Orleans, how do you think your recordings have ended up being so eclectic for the most part?
Well, I felt like I always sort of had, I always kind of wore different hats in New Orleans and I had different bands that kind of showcased my personality. I mean, it's like, yeah, I don't know. I always had a hard time sort of getting boxed into one genre, for better or for worse. You know, I had many managers and agents say, you know, oh, you're too confusing. But ultimately, I think when you're an artist, you just have to do what makes you happy. So, you know, for example, I had a rock band called Hildegard, and we spent about 2 years making this album that was so complex, and so much production went into it, and it was just such an exhausting, I mean, exhilarating, but also very exhausting process to really take these songs and work them so much and craft them in and out of the studio. And after I released that record, I was also at the same time performing with a band called the Sidewalk Strutters, and we were playing there. It's like more of a traditional New Orleans band, and we would have so much fun. We were playing these little clubs in New Orleans, like the Spotted Cat. We would play Jazz Fest, French Quarter Fest, and it was just, you know, we were taking these sort of old New Orleans standards and just like throwing our personalities into it and having so much fun with these songs. And so after releasing the rock record, I went and released an album called Old Green River with the Sidewalk Shredders, almost as like, you know, like the pendulum had to swing one way and then swing the other way, just because I needed a release for, you know, for something that was just more fun and more freeing and simple. And so, and then, you know, Art Market, my latest record, Art Market to me sort of felt like the culmination of all the different styles and things that have influenced me over the years. You know, not just Brazilian music, but also, you know, New Orleans. Like I did this cover of Iko Iko, but I put it in a minor key and put a synth bass under it and put a bounce beat behind it, you know, and so it's like, it has this sort of real New Orleans flavor. And then, but also the Bill Evans song, which is just a solo vocal, sort of kind of playing into how I use a loop station a lot to perform solo shows. And then also songs like Juicy Booty Song, which kind of showcase like the fact that I've been spending a lot of time composing. I compose a lot, I write a lot of music. And also I've been digging deeper and deeper into production and doing my own music production with, you know, I have a drum machine, I have all these, you know, computer programs, I have synthesizers and all these things that I produce all the tracks myself and play all the parts. And that's been really freeing and fun. And actually that is what led me to working with Nicholas Payton, which is really cool. I don't know if that's probably going to be a question, but it's sort of a segue because
no, it's fine. Let you know we have no agenda. Let's go.
Yeah, as I'm sure you guys know Nicholas Payton, probably.
Yes, we do.
Here. I know he did an interview with you, which I watched a few weeks ago, which is great. You know, and Nicholas he was an artist that, I mean, for the past decade, I have had utmost respect for him. And, you know, when I first started singing jazz music, I mean, when I first discovered Nicholas, I think Sonic Trance was the first record of his that I heard, and it totally blew me away, the way he's incorporating electronics and like these beats, and it was like real sexy, and like I knew that whole record back and forth and was such a fan of his ever since then. And always deep in the back of my mind, I knew I have to work with him one day. Like and it was so funny because I was so scared to ever like speak to him. I would, you know, I'd see him out like playing festivals, and of course he knows my father, but like, you know, and he's a pretty introverted guy too. He's like not, you know, he's a quiet person. And I would see him and I would just be like, hello, Mr. Payton, you know, like this total nerd. He'd be like, hey, what's up? Okay. And then I was like really shy for a long time. And then about two years ago, less than 2 years ago, I have another project that I'm working on called Trash Magnolia, which is sort of my alter ego electronic rock music. And I had a big show in New York City for the New York Winter Jazz Festival. I was playing at Brooklyn Bowl. I was opening for like the Soul Rebels. And I knew Nicholas was going to be in the city to play with his band. And just on a whim, like maybe I had a little, like one too many glasses of wine, and I was just feeling really confident, and I just messaged
with courage.
Yeah, I messaged him on Instagram, and I was like, hey, are you going to be in New York? Like, do you want to be a special guest on my rock show, you know, like at the Brooklyn Bowl on this date? It'd be fun to have you. And like, I totally expected him to say no, but he was like, yeah, sure, I'd love to, like, send me the music. And I was like, wow, this is so cool. So that was my first way, you know, to kind of reach out to him. And I encourage this so much to younger students and people that I talk to. If you have somebody that you know in the back of your mind, like, I need them to hear my music, I need them to know, somebody that you look up to, and you say, I just know deep in my brain that this is, you know, I need this guy to hear what I'm doing because I feel like he's going to like it. And sure enough, it worked. I mean, Nicholas really loves the music I was writing. I think it kind of for him, he saw, oh, this is, somebody who's really doing some very progressive, innovative, edgy stuff, not just maybe just the jazz singer that I had heard, once or twice or something like that. And then from then he started asking me to perform with him in various occasions. And now, since the beginning of quarantine, I mean, yeah, we made a record together at the
Quarantined
beginning
with
of
Nick. Yeah.
quarantined with Nick. I've been doing for almost 4 months. We've been doing a duo weekly gig, which has been amazing. We're gonna do another gig on Thursday. So yeah, that's been really pretty amazing. It's cool. And I feel like I've grown so much working with him, because just being able to hear him every week, just, create things, improvise things, and then kind of bounce these ideas off of me. And basically what I'm doing is I'm creating all the beats, like I do all the drum programming, and then he sends instruments to my loop station, and then I loop him, and then I basically live DJ the whole set. So he'll start taking a Rhodes solo, and I'll drop out the bass and the kick drum, and then I'll add in a hi-hat, and I'll like have it build and build and build, and I add in more drums, and then when he's at the height of his solo, then bam, I'll add the kick drum and the bass back in, and it, like stuff like that. So
That's very cool. Sasha, with that entire story and everything around it, you've just encouraged every cat out there, every hip hop cat with a mixtape who's been stalking people all over the world.
Yeah.
They say, well, wait, this girl did it, so I'm gonna go out, I'm gonna start stalking people again, and get what I need, It's kind of cool.
Yeah, totally. Sometimes you just have to like go on a limb and like, and it's worth it. It's like you just have to kind of trust that the universe is going to put you in places and open doors for you sometimes. Yeah.
Now let's make people familiar, and we'll do it again at the end of the show. But now with you and Nick and the gig you do the gig you do pretty much every week. No, I don't have any liquid courage. It's just water. I just sometimes struggle with words. But let's talk about when and how can they find you and Nicholas Payton in that weekly gig, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
And should not be missed. A lot of great new things going on there. When and how can they see it?
Well, I don't have an answer because he decided at the moment to pause the live streams. Okay. Although he did just text me yesterday and ask if I was available Thursday. So maybe there's a concert on Thursday. I'm not entirely sure. But that being said, all of our past concerts are still available on his Facebook page. So if you go to facebook.com/Nicholas Payton, you can find sort of archived all of the performances that we've done, and there've been quite a lot. And and as soon as we start up again, I think he's trying to put a paywall on his streaming device or something. And so as soon as that starts up again, I'll make sure people know about it. You can follow me on social media, Facebook, Instagram, or Nicholas Payton on any of those platforms, and we'll be sure you guys know about it.
Okay, cool. So before we get off of the subject of Nicholas Payton, you mentioned Quarantined with Nick, and let's just talk a little bit about the making of that album and the involvement with that. Now, I heard that some of it was recorded in his living room or something, and y'all were just hanging out there and dropping a lot of tunes and things. Let's talk a little bit about Quarantine with Nick and that whole experience of making that. Was everything made since February, so to speak, or was it before?
Everything was made in 2 days. We had done a couple of performances, trio performances with Cliff Hines, who's actually, I was mentioning this rock band that I had called Hildegard, and Cliff and I co-lead this band. So we go way back. We've known each other since high school at NOCA, and then through college at the University of New Orleans, where we both graduated. And so Cliff and Nicholas and I had started playing these improvised trio gigs, and that was actually the last concert that I did before lockdown. It was on March 5th. And the three of us had a concert at a really cool club in New Orleans called Sidebar. And it was amazing. The energy was incredible. The club was totally packed. And we had such a good time that um, when quarantine started, Nicholas sort of, I mean, I thought he was joking because he was like, oh, let's make a record, let's call it Quarantined with Nick. And I like didn't, I thought he was joking. And then he posted on his Instagram, like the album art with my name and Cliff's name. And I was like, he's not kidding. He's like, we're gonna do this. So for 2 days, we went to his house in New Orleans, three of us, and sort of turned his like living room into a very DIY recording studio, and we made this record, and it's really cool. I mean, it's all the songs are really long because they're mostly these like improvisations that we did for 10 minutes or 12 minutes at a time, and there's very little editing that happened after the fact, just some mixing. And yeah, I think it's a really cool record. I mean, I feel like it really I don't know, it really, to me, it's really the sound of what was happening at that point in March, when the whole country, I mean, the whole world really, but it was just the reality of the virus had just sort of set in to the United States, and how scary it was going to be, And then I mean, we mentioned this earlier, but as we were doing the mixing for Quarantine with Nick, I learned that I had coronavirus. One of my roommates had it, and tested positive, and then I had all the symptoms. I couldn't smell. I couldn't, I was having weird lung things, and thankfully, it was a rather mild case. I never had to go to the hospital, but it was still really scary. And I think that
Sure.
yeah, I think I had to do a lot of work, just to sort of maintain just kind of a connection with a higher power, and just really feel like everything's going to be fine, because at that point there was so much unknown about it and so much fear, and I'm sure everybody on here knows somebody who has had it, or maybe has had it, or and hopefully don't know anyone who's lost somebody, but possibly, it's a scary time, but yeah, I'm glad to be on the other side of it. But yeah, so for me, listening to the Quarantine with Nick record, it's almost like it brings up a lot for me also emotionally, because it kind of is the what I was listening to and working on as I was dealing with my own health, and the impacts of the coronavirus. So yeah.
Well, I'm glad, and I know I speak for everyone else here associated with us here. How glad we are to see that you've made a full recovery, and that you're on to bigger and better things. And also, hopefully, that you, now that somebody who's recovered, will have part of the secret that will bring us a cure, hopefully, for this whole thing one day, so we can all return to some kind of relative normalcy in life.
I know. I'm ready for it. I'm ready.
Oh, so are we all, believe me. Let's go back. We've talked about the albums with Nick, and let's jump back a little bit to Art Market and some of the great things that you were doing there. We're not going to mention the JB song again. We're going to get around and just talk about some of the other things going on there. We've talked about, now I know you made a very nice video a couple of years back when you first released the record for Sister, one of the songs that you wrote, and a terrific song on that. And I was also a fan of that one. And I know my favorite track on the record is Interplay. Another one of my favorite is one that you wrote with your dad, Entropy.
Yes.
Okay. And so I know that's a terrific track. If you can tell us a little bit about Entropy, the track, how you and your dad came to write it. And in addition, I also heard that I heard from somebody that there's something very special that you want to share for us that no one has seen before.
Yes.
So do tell. What is first? Let's talk about the song. Let's talk about then what are you going to share?
Okay, so the song is a song that my father wrote some years ago, actually. I think there's a recording that exists with the Astral Project with his band, but it's a song that I've always loved, and I decided to write lyrics to it. And entropy, the definition of entropy is like it sort of refers to chaos and disorganization and randomness. And wait, I had yeah, the Webster um, dictionary definition is the degradation of the matter and energy in the universe to an ultimate state of inert uniformity, ununiformity. So um, it's basically, you know, it's the general trend of the universe towards like disorder. And I felt that in the current state of 2020, with everything that's going on right now in the world, I thought I wanted to make a music video for this song. And so I did. My brother and I went to my parents' house and set up a green screen in the living room. And I asked my dad to learn, you know, he plays guitar on the song, and he has a guitar solo. And I asked him, Dad, can you go back and like learn your guitar solo again so that we can make a music video and it looks like you're playing it in real time? And he was so annoyed with me because that was really hard for him. But he did a great job. And yeah, and I worked closely with a friend of mine in Thailand who's a really great producer and video editor, and she helped me put this music video together. And I have it now. I'm going to show you guys as a world premiere of this video. Nobody's seen it yet. Yeah, and it's not released. It's technically going to be released on September 3rd. It'll be out on YouTube, but so you guys are going to get the sneak preview.
Well, this is terrific. I can't wait. So you see how fortunate you all are for having tuned in tonight. We get the world premiere of Sasha Masakowski's Entropy video. So Sasha, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, here goes. Here we go. Oh, wait. Oh, pause.
Feel change, so we try.
Yeah.
Very, very nice. Yes.
Thank you.
Fascinating video. I love the video. I love the work that was done all around it, everything going on through that. And once again, folks, if you came in the middle and just were wondering what you were watching, that was the world broadcast premiere. I dig saying that. The world broadcast premiere of Sasha Masakowski's video of her tune from her Art Market album. And that was Entropy once again. And truly enjoy that. And thank you so much for Sasha for thinking that we were special enough to have it shared with us here.
Sure.
So,
Pleasure.
oh,
Yeah.
the pleasure of all ours, believe me. So let's talk, since your dad played on that and your brother Martin and you. Now, I know you also have a family group that the three of you, and let's talk a little bit about the family group and what it's like working, with the people who you're around all the time. Sometimes people say, something, I could never work with my family. And some people say, they always look forward to it. So what's it like? Do you guys butt heads? Is it easy to work with your dad and your father and your brother on that? Or what's that like?
Yeah, I think it's mostly wonderful and really fun. And, we all obviously, we know each other really well. And yeah, I don't know. It's of course, sometimes like we butt heads, or, there's a power struggle between me and my dad. And, Dad, I want to do this song. He says, no, we have to do it in this key. And I was like, Dad, that's not my key. And he's like, you better sing it in this key. He's probably gonna get mad at me for saying this. But he, for the most part, no, it's great. And I feel like I'm always learning so much working with him, because he's just such a wealth of knowledge. And I feel like the older I get and the more I learn about musicality, the more I'm just absolutely blown away by his musicianship. He's just like such an astounding guitar player, composer, arranger, band leader. So we've done a couple of really nice. We did 2 really nice live streams since quarantine. We did one was really sweet. It was a tribute to Ellis Marcellus, who passed away,
Yes.
and that was really amazing. And then we also did a Blue Note like live stream from home for Father's Day, and that was really nice. And and I've been wanting to sing more ballads lately, which is really cool. Like maybe it's because of the state of the times, but I've been really drawn to playing ballads. And my dad and my brother are such skillful musicians, and then also playing trio has been really nice. And kind of, I think everyone is just slowing down right now. Everyone's taking this time to really kind of stop and take a breath and really go inward a little bit. So so the live streams that we've done have been beautiful. I think they're online as well. They should be on my Facebook page. And actually, I guess I can announce this, but we are planning on releasing a live a Christmas record that we made past Christmas. Yeah, I'm super excited. I don't know, I don't know if I should even say it. This is what stays in this chat room.
Too late now, girl. It's out there now. You said it. It's out there.
Right. None
of these people can keep a secret. Trust me.
Right. Exactly. No, but we last Christmas we did a really nice concert at Snug Harbor, which is like our premier jazz club in New Orleans. And it was a band with my father on guitar, my brother on bass, Shay Pierre, who's like one of the most incredible piano players from down here, Jameson Ross, who's like greatest drummer, and singer
Oh, yes.
in the world. Yeah.
Yes.
And our special guest was Jason Marcellus, actually. So
Oh,
we had this really cool band, and my father did these beautiful arrangements of these Christmas songs, some secular, some non-secular. Like it's some of my favorite music. And like growing up at like I could listen to Christmas music all year round. I love it.
yeah.
And it was also a really, really amazingly special Christmas for us this year because my grandmother, my dad's mother, passed away on Christmas morning, actually. And she was surrounded by family and loved ones. And, we were holding her hand and singing Christmas carols to her. And Christmas was always her favorite holiday. And we were so close to my grandmother. I mean, she was like one of my best friends growing up. And it was beautiful. I mean, she was 92. She was, ready to make her transition, but it made it for a very, just a really emotionally, powerful Christmas, So to be
Yeah.
able to record this concert that we did, and now we're sort of going to start mixing pretty soon and hopefully release, we will release it one way or another this winter. So that'll be really special. I'm excited about that.
Oh, I cannot wait. And I
Yeah.
know I'm going to get a hold of the copy, and definitely it's going to be all over my Christmas specials on Kurt Jazz Radio. So we'll definitely be playing it. Can't wait to hear it. Before I turn things over to the audience, I know a lot of people are looking forward to asking you questions, but there's one thing that I had just heard about. I keep my ear to the ground on things about new things you're doing or getting into while you've had this time away in quarantine. I heard you're also doing a little film scoring.
That's right. Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about what are you doing and for what film, and how did you get into it, first of all?
Okay, so this is something I've always wanted to do for years and years, and I had the great fortune of meeting this wonderful documentary filmmaker based in New Orleans. Her name is Lily Keber, and Lily, she actually has a documentary about James Booker that's on Netflix called Bayou Maharaj. She directed
Yes.
and did this documentary, and she was doing a documentary about like New Orleans dance, basically called buck jumping, and she saw me perform in October. I was doing a solo concert at a beautiful venue in New Orleans, and she found me afterwards and said, I loved your music and I'd love to work with you sometime. And then, a few months later, or I think it was in March, it was sort of already, or maybe it was February, was when she approached me and she said, I have this scene in this documentary that I'm working on, and I need basically a track sync. I don't have permission, to use the original audio. And it was a dance scene for a really great dancer here named Miss Hustler, and she's dancing in this bar, and and they needed me to match, the tempo of the original track she was dancing to, and basically write my own bounce song. So I did. I had so much fun with it. It was great, and that documentary was just released a few weeks ago. It's on Amazon Prime. It's great. It's called Buck Jumping, and and it's cool because my name is in the credits, and then I can see where I was like, oh, my song is around 30 minutes in. And that was really special. And then since then, we've been working together. She's putting together a series of short documentaries based on how New Orleans has sort of responded to the pandemic, like with different crews, and nonprofit organizations that are called Feed the Second Lines, that are really stepping up to help provide meals for culture bearers in New Orleans, whether that be musicians or Mardi Gras Indians or artists or chefs. So she's doing these series of shorts, and she's been asking me to score for them, and it's so much fun for me. It's like putting a puzzle together and kind of finding the nuances of certain dialogue when it's, when someone's speaking and it's more hopeful. Okay, what is that going to sound like versus, it's a really sad portion of this interview. And so that's what I've been working on also. It's been really fun.
That is very cool. Now, the documentary that is available on Amazon Prime is called Buck Jumping.
Buck jumping, yeah.
Buck jumping, yes.
Buck jumping. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm gonna definitely check that out, and everybody else who's got Amazon Prime, please make sure you do so as well. I know what I'm going to be doing a little bit later after we're done tonight. I think Kevin's already tuned in. I see Kevin Patterson down in the corner. He's multitasking down there. But it is that time that we open up for questions from the audience. I know a lot of folks have some questions for Sasha. I've seen them going into the chat as we've been talking. So we'll allow the folks to take over and they can do the questioning. So Lonnie, who do we have questions from?
All right, we don't have a whole lot now, so go ahead and enter your questions so that we can ask Ms. Masakowski. We do have one for Mr. O, and we'll get right into it. He wants to know, what's next for you, Sasha?
I am preparing to release a 6-track EP of original music under the moniker of Trash Magnolia. So Trash Magnolia, trash is spelled with a $sign is the S. And it's really cool. I mean, the music is all more electronic. I kind of call it art rock. It's sort of inspired by bands like Little Dragon or St. Vincent and David Bowie and other artists like that, and I play all of the, with the exception of live drums. I have a great drummer named Simon Lott who plays drums, but I play all the instruments on it, like all the synthesizers, all the drum programming. I produced it, co-produced it with a great engineer in town named Jay Wesley, and yeah, so that should be coming. I'm going to start releasing one single per month, starting probably in October. So you can be on the lookout for those.
Okay. Thank you to my friend, Mr. O, for that question to get us started. Do we have another, Lonnie?
Yes, we do. Let's see. I don't have who actually asked this question, but someone wants to know, when are you going to be back in the Charlotte area?
As soon as I can.
Right.
Yeah, hopefully 2021, I'm fingers crossed that 2021 we're back in action, and I would love to come back. I miss you guys.
Yeah, we definitely miss you too. Definitely miss you too. So we'll have you back as soon as we can. That's for sure. Let's see. I think we have another question. Just scrolling along here. Sorry. Okay, so I'll read it. It's from ML Cleveland. He says, knowing the musicians in your family have had an influence in your passion, could you comment on how the musicians who are part of your family circle influence your music passion?
How my family influences my musical passion.
Yeah, how your family circle influenced your musical passion.
Sure. I would say, I think that my father's part of a band for 30 plus years now called the Asheville Project. And the Asheville Project is they were sort of at the forefront of, I want to say kind of jazz fusion back in the day, where they sort of fused elements of like kind of rock music, I guess, and funk and electronic stuff into this jazz territory. And I think growing up with that band, I think what makes Astro Project so great is their songwriting is so good. I mean, if you listen to any of those records, the songwriting is just impeccable. They're really they're reaching for a sound that's so uniquely their own and so different and very innovative. And I think that really influenced me in a sense that I'm always sort of reaching to do something kind of that no one's done before, like I think that's why I felt the need to do more than just sing jazz standards, as much fun as it is. I think it's really important to compose your own music, and sort of write your own legacy. And so I think that's influenced me a lot, in the sense that I'm always writing music, and I'm always sort of striving to to do something a little bit different and to find my own voice.
Hmm. And Linda wants to know, when are you going to produce a bossa nova album? And
Yeah.
that's kind of, yeah, aligned with what you just said. But did you have any plans on doing that at all in the
Actually,
future?
we have a record called Nova Nola. It's I'm not sure if you can find copies on Bandcamp or not, but I'm also, I want to let you guys know that I have been mailing CDs out and packages to people. I've had a few people reach out to me and say, "Oh, I would love an autographed copy of your latest record, and you can just PayPal or Venmo me, and I will make a little care package. I got all the time in the world right now, so I'll send a little package of autographed CDs over your way." And so we actually have a bossa nova album called Nova Nola. It's really beautiful. We released it just a few years after Hurricane Katrina. It has some really beautiful Brazilian songs, some original songs that my father wrote that are sort of Brazilian sounding. So so if you want to reach out to me, you can get in touch with me through my website, which is sashamasakowski.com, or through Facebook or Instagram. There's plenty of ways to just reach out and find me. So happy to do that.
Okay, very cool. Lonnie, did I see something that there was a very special questioner coming through Facebook? Or something about
I
that?
have not, but if you see it, please go ahead and read that.
I don't see it. Can you open? Because Rebecca mentioned that she saw it, I believe.
Steve
So,
I should also mention my mother is a great pianist. And she's a concert pianist and also an incredible visual artist. She's a painter. She has an awesome Instagram. Ulrika Mazakowski is her name. She's from Germany. And she's amazing too. She's like the true artist of the family. Like she's like, she operates on like a higher consciousness field, and she's so cool. I mean, people, all of my friends, they don't want to hang out with me. They want to hang out with my mom. So she's amazing. Yeah. Let's see. I see another question.
What was the question?
They
Yes,
said,
from
when
Mr.
are you
Steve
going to print those
Masakowski.
masks? Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Sorry.
I didn't see a question from Steve. I did see one from Facebook, and it said, when are you going to print those masks?
Oh, I know. Ray Hogan. Hi. Shout out to Ray, who is a new fan. I think Ray discovered my music through the work I was doing with Nicholas Payton, and he's been a great patron. I've sent several shipments of CDs to him. And so thank you to Ray for the support. I mean, if you want to buy CDs, it's like, if you stream it on Spotify and Apple, I mean, that's cool. We all stream music, I get it. But if you buy it directly from me, it like, that just goes such a long way. So, that would be great. I see another question. You've grown up in New Orleans, spent much time in New York, and depth in other locations as well. Can you give us a sense of how the music scenes differ between those locations? That's a great question. I think that I learned very quickly when I moved to New York that people take themselves a lot more seriously in New York. The jazz scene in New York is, I mean, it's serious. It's a very different type of thing. And I think in New Orleans, New Orleans is especially because jazz music is still it's like a dance music. People go out, they want to dance, they want to have fun listening to jazz. It's like and I think in New York it's a very intellectualized art form. Not to say that there's anything wrong with that. I mean, as a musician from New Orleans, like I went to New York to get my butt kicked. Like I was like, I am ready for a butt whooping. Like I felt like I was getting too complacent in New Orleans, and I needed to I needed to get out and shake it up a little bit. And it was amazing, and everything I needed. I grew so much from that experience, from living there for almost 5 years. I collaborated with some incredible musicians that were, like heroes of mine, and learned a little bit more about how to like really go inward and find your own voice. And that's going to be the thing that like makes you stand out at the end. Let's see, there's another question.
I think we have
Yes.
one coming in actually on our, and yes, from Kevin Patterson.
Yeah, Kevin Patterson, he wants to know, of all of the areas of the music art form, what challenges you the most?
That's a tough question. I think what challenges me the most, I think for me personally, the biggest challenge comes from more of like the business side of it. Maybe like the idea that you have to really market and brand yourself. It's hard because like I want to stay true to being an artist, and sometimes I think some of that gets lost when you feel like you have to make money from your art. It gets, I think that's the toughest thing, because to truly make art, it's like you don't want to have to worry about, well, how am I going to pay the bills, and so so I think I struggle a lot with that, with finding, even lately especially during the pandemic, like the past 6 months, I've had this new music that I'm ready to release. It's been it's mixed, it's mastered, music videos are done, and I keep pushing the release back because I feel personally like I don't feel like I can self-promote at this time. I feel like the world is hurting right now. There's a lot of pain, sort of on a global, collective consciousness level, and it feels a little vain for me to say, oh, hey, look, everyone, I've got new music out, like people are dying, and we're in the middle of like, so I think I struggle with that, because I want to feel really genuine with it, but I also recognize that you have to, you have to constantly be pushing yourself. You have to be your own boss and your own business person. So, yeah.
That does present a challenge during these times, certainly. So I think it's getting toward the end of our time, and I think we've gotten toward the end of the questions as well. But a couple of things before we go, I just want to remind everyone of, and Sasha said it this time so much better than I can. You know how I preach in this space about not just streaming music, but buying the music. Streaming is okay to hear it for the first time and decide if you like it. Once you decide that you like it and you want to hear it that second time, buy it. Buy it, and not the used copies, but buy the legitimate sources. If you don't have CDs or albums or anything and you want to buy the downloads, that's fine. Buy the legal downloads, but make sure at this time that you do now more than ever support the artist. And Sasha's wonderful latest album we've been talking about throughout our time here today, Art Market, is available. Some of Sasha's other recordings that she was talking about is also available. And the best place at this point to get a hold of this music is to go directly through the artist. So go through Sasha herself. And once again, Sasha, can you give everybody your website and your information and how to get in touch with you again?
Of course. Our website is www.sashamasakowski.com. And through there, you can find links to contact me. It'll go directly to my email. You can also find me on Instagram, instagram.com/Sasha Masakowski. and on Facebook as well through S. Masakowski Music or through my personal page, which is Sasha Masakowski. Yeah.
Okay, so do make sure you've heard some great music here. You want to watch out for that music video. You've seen the video. Now buy the rest of the album, because trust me, and I wouldn't lie to y'all, every bit of it is just as good, and you get to truly see and hear what this wonderful artist is about. Sasha Masakowski, my dear friend, it's so good to see you again. So glad to have you with us this evening. Thank you so much for spending this hour with us. And before we turn things back over to Lonnie, I just want to say thank you again to all of you for watching, listening, questioning, and being a part of this experience. As always, my name is Curtis Davenport. You can catch me now and always, and including the music of Sasha Masakowski, at my station. That's Kurt Jazz Radio. Today's jazz lives here, baby. You can catch it 24/7 on Live 365. Even when I'm here, I'm there. So make sure you do tune in for that music. Sasha, my friend, thank you again for joining us. Thank you all. Lonnie, I turn it back over to you to say goodnight.
And thank you, Curtis. And thank you once again, Sasha. It's been a pleasure as always. And we're going to find a way to get you back in Charlotte real soon. And I do want to thank everyone for joining us this evening. Thank you, guys. And just want to share a little bit about Jazz Arts. If you don't know about us, we are a nonprofit organization right here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And our mission is to support the community and develop a jazz audience through quality education, performance, and musician support. And if you are in a position to support keeping the music playing, please do visit our website, thejazzarts.org, and we would love to get more of your support. Thank you guys again. We'll be here again in 2 weeks with more great conversations with Curtis. You guys have a great evening.
Thank
Take
you
care.
so much.
Thank you. Good night, everybody.
Thank you, guys. Bye.